Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. And today we're talking about the top things that you need to be aware of when living near Fort Meade so that you can know if you can handle living here in this part of Maryland. So we're going to jump into it right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Living in Maryland channel where we discuss all things living here in the great state of Maryland. So if that's the kind of information that you are looking for, then you are definitely in the right spot and we really appreciate you being here. And if you are thinking about making a move here to Maryland, if you're wondering whether purchasing a home, selling a home is the right move for you here in the state of Maryland, we absolutely love having conversations around that, seeing how we can best assist people with those processes here in Maryland. So however you feel most comfortable reaching out, whether that's by phone, text, or email, days, nights, and weekends, we've got your back when moving here to the great state of Maryland. All right, so the first thing that I want to mention here to everyone is that if you cannot handle hearing planes where you live, then this is definitely something you want to think about. So if you're coming here to the greater Fort Meade area, so that's going to be, central Maryland, you've got Severn just north, you've got Odenton kind of to the southeast, you've got Glen Burnie a little north, you've got Hanover not too far. Those are some of the immediate areas, also Millersville, parts of Severna Park that are pretty nearby as well. So if you are sensitive to that, if that is something that you do not like, then this is definitely something you want to be prepared for because you do get a decent amount of flight activity and just hearing all those flights from BWI, which is north, so Baltimore Washington International Airport, pretty active airport there. And then you've got the Naval Academy in Annapolis, and then you've got Andrews Base down in kind of southern PG County, which we do get a little bit of activity from there as well. So between the three, as well as some others that I'm probably not, super aware of, you're definitely going to get a decent amount of activity, especially in parts of Western Glen Burnie and then parts of Central Severn and Hanover, specific to BWI. This is where you're going to probably have the most activity from that airport. So it's definitely something you want to be prepared for if you are looking to live in those areas, and something that you want to just kind of be, prepped for, and know that it's definitely present. And again, if that's something that you do not like, if it's something that you can't handle well, then it's something you want to think about before moving here to this general Fort Meade area. All right, next is high overall cost of living. So this is definitely something to look into and be prepared for before moving here to this area. Especially housing when it comes to that piece of cost of living. It is definitely expensive here. We get a lot of feedback from people coming from the middle of the country, coming from the south, just what a sticker shock it is to come here in Central Maryland and see what it costs to either buy a home or to rent a home. They are both very, very expensive right now. We have not, at least in this part of Maryland, we have not seen much depreciation or much value loss or value going down yet in any type of real estate. So before coming here to this area, definitely look into that, see if that's something that you can handle before making that big move. Now, when it comes to actual cost of homes, it's hard to give averages because it can range so much in various parts of Central Maryland, but most townhomes in the general areas surrounding Fort Meade are starting at least in the mid threes, going on up into the well into the fours, depending on condition, depending on size. And then your single families here in the general Fort Meade area are usually starting in the high fours and well into the fives, and then can go on up into the sixes and sevens, depending on location and depending on size and condition. So being prepared for the cost of living, especially when it comes to housing, can be very helpful before that move. All right, next is if you cannot handle bugs, then moving to Maryland may be something you want to think twice about. We do have a lot of bugs here in the area, especially a lot of mosquitoes and things like that. So Maryland is a very heavily wooded state. Fort Meade alone has, is 5,400 acres roughly, and a lot of that's going to be, trees and stuff like that. So, and then you got Odenton, a lot of Severn has a lot of trees, a lot of woods. So being prepared for that can be very helpful. We do get a lot of that stuff here. Now, the worst that I've seen it was a few years ago when we had the 17-year cicada. We're having our general cicada season coming up here. We're in the beginning of June here, so that's coming up soon. But if you want to look up the 17-year cicada, that was the craziest thing I've ever seen. These things just flying all over 24/7 for a few weeks. So looking at that, it's kind of interesting if you want to check that out. But overall, the bugs here in Maryland, you do want to look into that. You do want to be prepared for that before coming here to Maryland. All right, next is that the general Fort Meade area and the areas surrounding it is very suburban. So that's something you want to be prepared for. It's not super city. There's not a ton of stuff to do immediately here in the area. You do have Baltimore, you do have DC, roughly 30 to 45 minutes in each direction. And then you've got Annapolis to the east, and then Columbia to the west. And you've also got the Maryland Life Casino. So in Hanover, there's a few things going on, but directly, immediately surrounding Fort Meade, it is very suburban. You do have to drive to kind of do, some of these things. So being prepared for that can be very helpful as well. Next is that Maryland has completely unpredictable weather. It's something that all Marylanders are aware of, and something that it just is what it is when it comes to the weather. So being prepared for this can be helpful. Now, one thing I love about living in Maryland is that we do get all 4 seasons. So that's something that you can count on. It's definitely something that I love, especially coming from the West Coast, where we did not get as much as that, or nearly as much of that. But when it comes to weather, it can be all over the place. We've had some Christmases here in the several years that I've been here where the weather gets up into the 60s, low 70s. That's not every year, of course. And then we've had, some Marches where it's snowing one day and then it gets up into the 60s the next day. So it is all over the place. You never know what you're going to get here in Maryland. It is something to just be prepared for before making that move here to Maryland. And last but not least, Maryland is not known for its public transportation. We do not have a ton of it. You do have the MARC train cutting through Odenton, which is great, gives you access to get down to DC, get up into Baltimore. So that is great to have. But other than that, there is not a ton of public transportation. You definitely want to have a car when living here in the general Fort Meade area to get around and get things done. So something to be prepared for if you're coming from a different kind of lifestyle or a different kind of experience where you count a lot more on public transportation, then it's definitely going to be different here in Maryland. So definitely something to be prepared for. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. If you ever have any questions about buying or selling real estate here in the area, please feel free to reach out, and we will see you at the next video.